us. We're really happy to have you.
Absolutely.
And before we jump into lyrical storytelling and how one takes those steps to be successful in that realm, do you mind giving us a little run through of how you got to where you are now?
Yeah, for sure. So my real name's Francc. My music name is Francc. I am a singer-songwriter, recording artist. Started my music career about 2.5 years ago, and really wasn't sure what was going to come of it. But within that time, I've played quite a few shows. I've played with Dylan Reese, Ryan Oakes, Sammy Adams, the Lost Kings, right? And I've released a pretty large catalog of music. Done about 2 million streams thus far, so things are on the up and up. Still new to the space, but it's just been a hell of a ride and really exciting.
It's very exciting, and especially when you're diving into, I don't know, when you're somewhat new and
something new. Yeah, I mean, listen, when I started this, if anyone who knew me prior to this, or if you knew me prior to this, music is not a lane that anyone would have predicted that I would have pursued, right? It wasn't like the typical background where I'm from, very like finance, very clean cut, sports, go to school, play sports, get into finance. And I always wanted to do music. My family was very musically inclined. My sister was phenomenal at pretty much every instrument. My dad was very musically talented. And it was always like a joke that like I wasn't. Right. So I kind of like strayed away from it, but I would always try and write music in the back of my classes because I didn't pay too much attention in school. And nothing ever really stuck. Like I would try and rap to my friends sometimes, but they thought I was like a big idiot, because you just don't do that where I'm from. Right.
Cut me deep.
It was more like poetry at the time, and I knew I could do it. But I never did. And then like I wound up going to a military school for college. I played lacrosse there again. So like continuing on the path of like not creative music at all. And going through all of those things, like going through, something that was so far off the music path actually just, pushed me towards this. So it was really nerve wracking at first, but once I made the dive in, it's just so exciting. It's like, you just immerse yourself in this new world. Like I'm sure you guys are figuring out. It's like it's so rewarding to be creative and to create something that's your own.
Mm-hmm. And to feel like you keep flourishing every time, you
Small wins.
Yeah, exactly. Small wins and those celebrations.
So I went to it's a small military college in Virginia called the Virginia Military Institute. And I was actually on track to go to the Army. I thought that's what I wanted to do. A bunch of things happened my junior year. I was medically disqualified from the Army, so it really wasn't an option for me. I wound up transferring back home, and I took a job working in commercial real estate in Manhattan, or an internship rather. And this is where I had my first run-in with the Gator family, right? And I met
Go Gators.
My buddy. Yeah, go Gators. Go. I love this. My boys all do this, I root for them and everything. Just because like they truthfully have made that group of people have made such like an impact on my life, like just way I think, creatively, like business wise, they're just like a great group of people. But yeah, so I transferred back home and I took a job in New York. It wound up becoming a full-time thing, and it was just like such a fast-paced life, doing the city thing, like drinking, going out. I'm sure you guys could imagine, and it just like wasn't fulfilling for me. So I quit and I hopped into music.
I love that. And then that's been it so far. You're just rocking it.
Well, I mean, yeah. It goes back to the small wins, right? So like I said to myself when I started, I was like, okay, I'm gonna give myself a year. And if I don't see any like sort of sign or significant progress within this year, then I'll stop, because everyone was obviously weary of it at first. But I got small wins, like I got really small wins, and it just like kept, especially when I was really down, like right when I was really down, I would get like a small victory. And then that would be like, okay, keep fucking doing this, keep going. I think you can do this, getting like your first show, or even releasing your first song, or even writing your first song, buying your first mic, like, and learning how to use it. All of those things were like small victories for me, enough to feel like, okay, I'm making a step every day. And so long as I continue to do that, like, I'm not going to stop doing it.
So before I ask this question, I have to give you like a little bit of context. So Isabella is in a creative field. She is an actor. She's fully committed to the craft. I'm in corporate finance, and it's just a of a different perspective.
Yeah.
So when did you really feel like you could make that leap? Like when did you decide, okay, my 2 weeks are going in today? Did you have some sort of landmark that you achieved, or did you just say, I love this, I'm going to give it a shot?
It wasn't a landmark that I achieved. It was like a landmark that I never thought I'd see myself at. Right. So it was like this bottom, like staring into the mirror, going like questioning life. Like, what did I make the right choice? Is this what life is? Do I want to do this every day? You know, am I in love with what I am? Am I excited to wake up in the morning? You know, that's how I really like started to measure it. And as I started to answer no, I said, okay, well, and I do this for other things in my life too. I'm like, okay, you know, if this isn't sitting right with me, and if it doesn't sit right with me long enough, then I need to make some sort of serious change. And I may not know what it is, but at that moment in time, it was like, I'm so miserable doing what I'm doing. No matter, like, if I leave this job tomorrow, as long as I'm not doing this and like I'm making an attempt at pursuing, you know, something that I think I love, you know, because I didn't know at the time. I wasn't like, I love writing and recording music. I just knew that I wanted to do that. But yeah, I was sitting in my office, and I mean, you probably like hear this story from other artists before, at least I have, but I was literally sitting in my office and I just said, fuck this. And I walked into my boss and I said, hey, listen, like, I'm not giving 2 weeks. I'm literally leaving right now. Yeah. And I straight up just like packed my shit and walked out. But yeah, no, it's like, and I understand also, like, it's a means to an end, right? Like a job, especially in music, like you need money to for marketing, and in the same way that you guys are going to need money to push this and to market this. I understood it was a means to an end, but at that point in time, I just felt like I had to really submerge myself in whatever this music thing was, you know, in order for me to build a base, you know, because when you're building a base, like, it needs your attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you have to like be giving your energy in that direction. Like you can't always share your energy with something that is not serving you.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I closed myself off for a little while too. I really put everything into learning, you know, how to do this, how to do music.
The artist part of me is cheering on the artist part of you, because it is, you know, there are a lot of uncertainties. There's a lot of the time that we're the only people saying, I have this, I'm gonna be okay, even though there's no finish line and you don't know what's next. It's the point that I choose this, and through the sweat, blood, and tears, I will make it. I don't know when, but I will.
Fact. But if you love it, right, it's like it's all I need, you know, like, yeah, I know you need things to live, right? But like, it's truthfully all I need. And I remember saying to myself, if all I had was my microphone and like my ability to record music, obviously like my health and whatnot, but that's all I need. And if that's all I have, then I'm at peace with that. I have this conversation with my friends. It's like, we always say whenever we're about to make like a life change, we question like, what's the worst that could happen? You know, and I've always felt, when I ask myself that question, I always have the fallback of saying, like, no matter what, you know, at least what life has blessed me with, I will always be able to record my music, right? I have my microphone and my computer and my headphones, and that's enough for me to be at peace with life. You know, so knowing that, it allows me to take bigger risks, because I know where I'm falling to a comfortable place. And I like what you said, like, there's no like end sight. There's no, when you're in this creative space, it's like, it's you know, on your own, perfecting your craft, and there, you don't know when your next job is, when your next big break is. It's just like, you just have to keep doing it every day because you love to do it. And it's like a blind faith, which is cool. I like that.
Yeah, you would never pick anything. You would never choose anything else, even if it was all the money in the world. It's you doing what you love, and that's the most enriching feeling.
Right. Well, it's what I identify with now. You know, it's like, it's the basis of who I am.
Yes.
Go into a song knowing what you want it to be, or does it come to you in the process? Do you have an idea before you get started?
That's such a good question, because I asked that to like every one of my artist friends what their writing process is, and it's cool to hear. It started one way. It's now you know, and now I do it a totally different way. But typically, like, a producer will send me something like a beat, right? Something that he created. And if it's something I like, I'll typically like write a melody first. So like, no words, you know, I'm just kind of sitting there going, you know, making the noise with my mouth, trying to find a melody. And then from there, I think I get like an emotion, you know, so I get typically like my preliminary views done in a car. So I love to drive, you know, I'll just hop in a car and drive. And I'll play the music trying to get like a preliminary melody down. Once I have that down, I'll sit down and actually like record that melody. And from there, I'll have a mood, you know, like I'll understand what the energy of the song is. And then that will like shape my writing, you know. I think one of my biggest weaknesses is like creativity in my writing. I think, you know, you have to, as an artist, break through that. Hey, I'm going to be very transparent with whoever's listening to me right now. And like, that's where you're going to get the most connection because you're bridging the gap. Whereas like, you know, some artists are a little bit more light on the subject matter that they're talking. So I'm trying to like become more comfortable with, you know, really, really speaking my truth. I think that would really elevate my music.
You mentioned that you asked this question to a lot of your artist friends. Do you find that most people have a structured creative process where they move from A to B? And if so, is there one that you would recommend for someone who's just looking to get started?
Oof. I'm not like the best person to answer this question just because my process isn't organized. It's definitely not. But then I have like friends who sit down and everything's color coded, labeled, like they know what's going on. They know like, okay, I'm going to write the intro, the verse, the bridge, the hook, and just like write it all the way through. When you're first starting and you're writing a song, I think it depends what your strength is. You know, some people are better at like finding a catchy pocket in the beat and like, you know, can sing a hook first. You know, they want to find the hook first. But then you got some kid who like loves rapping and he just wants to spit bars on the verse. So I don't think there's any like, there's no like right way or wrong way. It's just your way. It's just your way. One thing I do that is weird that a lot of people tell me is like not, you know, correct is I record with my mic with effects on my microphone. So like when I'm recording in my headphones, what I hear back is exactly how my voice is going to sound on the actual record. Whereas like other artists will record where their vocals are totally dry and what you're hearing is exactly how you would hear my voice right now, like naked, if you will, with nothing affecting it. So I do that.
Can you explain that more for those of us who know literally nothing about music?
Yeah. So like on a microphone, you can put, or when you're recording music, you record vocals. When you record vocals, it goes into your computer and it like looks like a waveform, right? And what you can do from there is add things to it. So like you could add reverb on it, which is the echo of the room, you know, which gives it like Post Malone when it sounds very like echoey and wet is the term that they used, right? So it's just like adding effects to your voice. Have you ever heard like what's like an auto-tune song, right? Think of like who?
Like T-Pain.
Perfect example, right? Like the classic example. It would be like recording in the mic and then hearing all the effects that he has on his voice directly back to you, as opposed to just hearing your normal voice over the song.
So it's kind of like if you have decks and you can like just put those effects over the music and.
Yeah. And I record with them on. So like it's my voice is going through production as I'm recording.
I would enjoy that because it's exactly what everybody else is hearing so there's no like rehearsal process. It's the real deal.
That's why I like it.
Keeps you in that world.
That's why I like it. I just and also it helps me like, I think this is, maybe it's something I should stop. Again, I don't know. People tell me it's wrong, but I like doing it. It helps me like find different things that my voice could do with the effects that I know I'm going to be putting on them. So like I may be able to do something different with those effects on while I'm recording and trying to explore what I want to write. Does that make sense?
You are drawing us in, and doing so, we're taking that ride with you. When we can grab a hold of people's heartstrings and bring them on a great voyage, I think that's the best thing.
Well, the first thing is like I know, or at least for me, I know that I wrote a good song when I'm sitting there and it grabs at my heartstrings, right? Because like as an artist, you're creating art that like you want to consume. That's like that's why you do it. I make music that I want to listen to. And like I have no problem saying when I'm driving in the car, 99% of the time, I'm probably listening to my own music. You know, and that's just how I feel. Like that's just how I feel. Or I'll listen to my boys every now and again, but like it's I make it because that's what I say. It gives me an orgasm. I know a song bops when it gives me an orgasm. I used to, when I was working, music like saved me when I was working, because my commute to work was like a bitch at the time. I wasn't living in Manhattan at the time. I was commuting and it stunk. But I would listen to music every day, which was like my safe haven. And I just came to like this term. I was like, this song gives me an orgasm. This song makes me feel like, while I'm feeling like shit walking to my office, this song like puts me on top of the world. Closer was like one of those songs. I don't care who judges me on that. Closer by the Chainsmokers will go down as like my favorite song ever. Starving by Haley Steinfeld was one of those songs for me. The list goes on, but like you get a little taste, you get an idea.
You feel it like right in your.
Yeah, you know, music just like it's a universal language.
It definitely is. When it comes to music, people talk a lot about bars. For the people that don't know what bars are, do you mind explaining that in layman's terms?
Sure. I saw that question, right? And I was like, bars. If I had to like describe bars. So bars is a line of a song, right? And in a bar, there's 4 beats. And then within a measure, there's 4 bars. So there's 4 beats in a bar, 4 bars in a measure.
When you're starting your creative process, like how do you decide what the setting is? Like, are you always the main character of your songs?
You know what? Also, just like you guys crushed it with the questions. Like these are questions that I would want to be asked. These are things like I would want to share. A lot of them are about, you know, like it's they're about me. I'll openly admit, like I'm a pretty love guy, like lovey guy, and a lot of my songs are love songs, you know, in one way or another. Relationship stuff, you know, but they are all like, I could go through my songs and tell you exactly why I wrote what I wrote. You know, they all mean something to me. But that's, you know, again, it's like I play those songs when I'm feeling some type of way. You know, I have a song for every some type of way I might feel.
So do you ever have conflicts like going through the cast of characters? Are you ever like, oh shit, well I hope that this person that I'm singing about like never hears the song, or I hope that this person that I'm singing about hears the song next week and like calls me?
Well, I think it's more often it's more often the latter, right? Like you write it because you want them to hear it. You're like, hey, this is like my letter to you. You know, this is what I'm feeling that I didn't say. You know, or maybe I didn't say. I've had more time to think about this, and here I wrote this song for you. You know, that's typically what it is. But yeah, there's been like 1 or 2 where it's like, you know, fuck, they knew this was about them. It's probably not. Wouldn't be that tight, you know.
I wrote this song, and it was about my love, and then there was this part that I was like talking, and I was like, I blah 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 blah, and it's 7th grade, and my teacher plays it in biology, and I'm just like jamming out to it, and everyone's like, Isabella, like you are such an artist. Why are we listening to this? And I was like, oh.
Yo, but like,
what's it about?
You know what? I so much fucking credit. Like I really genuinely give credit to anybody out there putting themselves out there like that. Like when I first started putting music out, I would release videos, but I would use a filter that made me like look like a cartoon, right? And this was like a lesson for me later down the road, but that was like that last barrier between me and like everybody out there. You know, even though it was already out, it's like, you were sitting there rapping in front of a camera and you look even dumber because you look like a cartoon. But like for me, that was like a safety net of like, that's my shield, you know? And so for anyone who's like
with a
fuck it, say that again?
I said it was the barrier between Francc with a C and Francc with a K.
Fact. Like Francc with the 2 C's was right on the other side of that cartoon filter. You know, here he is. Here he is.
You have to be 100. You have to 1,000,000% go in with your vulnerability.
You're really like, it's I mean, art just connects the room, you know. It's sort of like, it's like a mutual pain or a mutual pleasure, or whatever your experience. Like it's a way for people to latch onto that and like feel related to you. So like I've always been drawn to that, and I like that. I think, you know, the vulnerability in art is what makes it so special. Yeah. You know,
well, and that's what makes it real art.
Right. Unique. Because everyone's different.
Mm-hmm. And at the time, and Francc, you touched on this earlier, Isabella, you have really shown incredible strength and confidence in setting the boundaries and saying, this is how we're going to make the art, and this is what I expect from those people who are around me, and this is how I will be treated. And Francc, you kind of touched on having to set those boundaries in the music industry for yourself.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't at first. At first it was like anyone who was in the music industry before me and willing to talk to me, it's like, whoa, like, wow. But yeah, as you like progress throughout your career, if you will, with whatever it may be, like you just, you start to walk with more of a swagger in terms of like confidence, and you start understanding like what you need in order for you to be putting out your best work. And I think you just like need to be comfortable in knowing that it's okay. Like you can't please everybody. I need to be better with this. Like there's been times where I've written songs with people and like I don't like how it comes out, whether it's their verse or like the mix or whatever it may be. Like, and I just need to say like, hey, I'm not comfortable putting that record out. Like I don't want to do that, and because it's my art and it needs to be something that like that I think reflects me. So you need to be able to say like, no, that's not how I want to do this, or that's, it's not going to work this way. It's never, for me, it's never to burn a bridge. It's like, because if someone said it to me, I think I'm really easygoing in that regards. Like if I cut a record with someone and they were like, yo, I just did not fuck with this, I'd be like, yo, that's fine. That's your song, and I'm not gonna please, everybody. It's funny you brought this up because I had a girlfriend pretty recently, and I played some of my new music for her that I like was in love with. I took a long time off from writing, and like I just wrote like 5 songs maybe in the span of 4 days, and I was like stoked, and I played them for her. And I'm good, like I could take criticism. My friends give me criticism. My closest group of friends really don't like, they do, but I can tell sometimes they're like, yeah, it's a good one, it's all right. I played it for her, and she gave me these critiques, and I took the critiques. I wore them. I was like, yeah, definitely, for sure. And she got mad at me for not changing them. And I was like, yeah, I was like, wait a minute, it's already made. The song's already made. Like you can't bake a cake, have someone taste it, and then be like, yo, we need to add more sugar to this. It's like, no, the cake's here. The cake is right in front.
And it's not going to benefit you. There's one thing to learn, like
Right.
artists too, we have to know, because sometimes, I do this odd thing with my fingers. Sometimes they look like this. I don't know what it is, if I'm holding on to something, but like you say, you listen to your own music in the car. I watch myself on repeat. So I know what's happening from the tip
That'll be tough.
down. Oh, see, but I love it. But that's what kind of artist I am. But
Yeah,
then
yeah.
that's how I learn when it comes to, because I have this really big thing. I have small hands, learning how to make them lengthier and then not being like a gremlin with them. And that's practice. And it comes to, if a film comes out and I have a gremlin hand, I have to be like, gremlin hand, I love you. Let's not gremlin hand this on the next film. But you have to take the punches, and you have to say, I'm a growing artist. Next time I'm going to be conscious of my gremlin hand. And
that's funny. That's, what, when I got in front of a camera for a music video the first time, and I realized like, wow, you need to be like conscious of the way that your body is being placed for everything. Like I didn't realize till then. I was like, this is really not as easy as it looks. I did a photo shoot the other day, and and they're like, make yourself look long, or like using these cues, and I'm like, I'm trying here, like but it's true, like, and I don't like looking at myself in photos or on video, so it's already tough for me. So I couldn't imagine you rewatching yourself acting the way that I re-listen all my music. Like that would be so hard.
I have a question, and you touched on it when you said that your girlfriend gave you some feedback.
Yeah.
How do you kind of accept that feedback from people who are so close to you? Because for me, I feel like that would be really painful to present something and then have someone say like, your hand looks weird, or I think that maybe you could.
Your hand looks weird. That's funny. Yeah, Isabella, you want to go first or second?
You pick. It's really your episode. I've just chimed in artistically.
I'll go quick. Like I really don't give a fuck. Like I don't care what I'm gonna sit there and make what like sounds good to me, and I can let my friends, like I've had friends, tell me that they really don't fuck with the song at all. My best friend is like the most honest with me, and we just have different tastes in music. Like I know that for a fact, so I don't really care. I say whatever you want, be honest. Like I can wear it, and in confidence in what I do, like I don't really care. I don't care at all.
Yeah, and backpacking on that, I think that it's something, when it comes to your art, if you let everybody decide what kind of artist you're gonna be, you're no artist. It's about finding this is the way I do it. This is who I am. And doing and living that 100%. And then there's a point that you say, is this my ego involved? And I actually need to keep evolving, which we should always keep
Yeah,
evolving.
yeah. But yeah, that's a good point. Like, you need to, when I ask, I go in asking like, if I were to ever ask for an opinion on something, I go in saying like, yo, you may not like what you hear back, and I've already accepted that before I ask. So like, you could say whatever you want, you know. And I'm always curious, because I know that I think about things differently than everybody else, vice versa. So like, I'm just always interested, like, yo, what did you think when you heard this part of the song? Because this is what I was feeling, and then I just like to compare and contrast. To me, it's like, that's a learning thing for me, and I think that's cool.
Yeah.
So did you just always have that confidence? You were just like, no, my stuff is the shit, like we're good? Or coming out of, you know, military school and the corporate world, is that something that you had to develop?
Yeah, you know what? I think maybe I did have like a little blind confidence, because like I can like humbly look back and listen to some shit and be like, it was garbage, you know. But at the same time, listen. I think I'm pretty humble in the space. You can ask Dylan Reese, who's like my father in the game. I really do believe, since like the first song that I wrote there, it went well together. Like, you can pull up, I would not be upset to pull up my first ever song released on SoundCloud. You know, like, that's, so you can. It's called Basics. Like, I remember recording that. I begged this kid. This kid caught me writing a rap in the back of like my music history class that I just took on a whim when I transferred back home. And I like sat in the back of the class really shy, you know, just not talking. And he came up to me, he's like, yo, were you writing rap in class? And I was like, I mean,
Who's that? Yeah.
It's like this kid Will from Ramapo College. Shout out Will. He raps. He was fire. Yeah, shout out Will. I don't know his last name, but like, he was the man. He like brought me back to his dorm room and played beats for me and like showed me some of his songs. I was like, holy shit, dude, like, what's going on right now? Like, I'm gonna be famous tomorrow. Like, what, you record music, you know? So I had no fucking idea. You found it?
I did find it, yeah.
Yeah, so like, that was the first song I ever recorded. I begged this kid from my school who like had a friend who had recording shit in his basement. I was like, yo, like, I found this beat, let me come over. Like, and he's like, all right, it's gonna be $100. And I didn't know shit at the time. Like, he was like, you have to pay to like come hang out in my mom's basement and record this, you know, which I guess is standard. Like, I was using his shit and whatever. And I was like, no, bro, like, hear me out. You and me are gonna grow together. You're gonna be my guy, and I'm gonna record music, and I'm gonna become big, and we're gonna do this together. Like, are you in? And he's like, nah, bro, give me my $100. Like, fat, you know, like, that's what it was like. So I was like, all right, fuck you, you know. But he was doing it right. Like, I should have paid him. I should have been paying for the time. That's how it goes. But I didn't know. I was just like, yo, I'm gonna be famous. Like, people are gonna listen to this. Trust me. Do it for free. You know, like, let's do this together. And yeah, that didn't work. Like, we recorded the song, and it was good. You know, now I'm where I'm at. I never spoke to the guys again. I remember they reached out to me after like I had one song hit like 20,000 streams. They're like, whoa. And I was like, told you. But like, it really wasn't, you know, it wasn't anything. It was just like smoke and mirrors. You know, 20,000 streams isn't shit. But they saw it and they were like, yo, you came out of the basement, bro. Like, you were. So that was cool. That was funny. That like span of 6 months when I transitioned into music was just like a clown show of me figuring it out.
So when it comes to great rap storytelling, are there specific artists that you believe everybody should take a listen and learn from when it comes to storytelling, and who are they?
If there's like one person, if anyone who's listening to this is into storytelling rap, this one person by the name of Kinetics, and Kinetics is the artist, and then his producer's name is One Love. I found them like years ago, maybe back in middle school. It was this kid by the name of Jeremy Duselet. I can't pronounce the last name. It's like French. But he went to Cornell, and he was releasing all this music, and it was like next level. But like, I've strayed away. I'm more like, I listen to melodies first. I like definitely listen for melodies first. And I love right now, like, and my biggest inspiration over the last since 2015, I guess, in general for like life and music has been Quinn 92, if you guys are familiar. And then my friends, like I got a lot of my friends are phenomenal musicians, and I listen to their music all the time. And I think I like listening to their music because their stories make sense to me. I know their lives, so that's what's interesting. I think you need to find what clicks with you. Like different people are writing about different stuff, so whatever fits for you and your taste.
If I just had me and my acting, like you talked about with you and your mic, you'd be set, and that's the singing.
Right. It's your purest form of enjoyment. Fact.
Yeah, it's I don't know who I am without it.
Man, I wish everyone had that. I wish everyone had that one thing. I have friends, because I'm sure you have friends who don't. Alex, I'm sure you have friends who don't, right? It's like I always, when I meat someone who doesn't, I'm always like, yo, you guys, like, you don't need, there's no way to like necessarily find it, but like you need to be open to it finding you, like you need to be open to you. Whatever you're doing right now may not be the thing, and the thing may be over there, and you need to like let that thing happen to you. Because once you find something you're passionate about, there's no stopping you. There's just no stopping you.
So I guess I can kind of comment on that a little bit. I mean, as someone, like, I really never had a thing that I like that much, until like you hit a wall, and you have to hit a wall and make a decision that you don't want this anymore.
Yeah.
And you don't need to know what the next step is. Like, you don't need to know, but like you just have to come to terms like there's something else.
Yeah. And I think that, like, at least for me, the biggest thing was just making that conscious decision and saying, like, I am now open to change. I'm open to something new, because you have to like mentally open up to just being able to receive something new that could happen.
Sure.
Started upswing, and that's also like when I bought decks and stuff and just started messing around with things, because you don't realize when you don't have something like what you might be missing, and you don't realize that path might not be right for you until something happens and you have to change it.
Yeah, no, I agree. When I found my thing, I was so like, yes, like this is it. And I used to talk to them and try and motivate them to do the same. And then like, I came to the realization, I was like, well, you don't need to necessarily know what it is, right? Like, but saying like, hey, I'm gonna accept that something crazy or different might enter my life, and like be open to looking for it. Like, that's when it'll find you. But there's no way for you to say, okay, I'm gonna quit my job today and just find my passion tomorrow, because you could be passionate about yo-yos at the present time, and then 4 months later you could be like, fuck it, I'm into skateboarding now, but like, it's the idea that like, hey, things can change, and I'm going to continue to try until I find something that fills, whatever that is that I'm missing. It's like accepting there's a piece missing, accepting there's a piece missing.
Everything can be amazing in your life, and like there's still something that you want to change. And for your friends, I mean, it's not like they aren't doing great, and whatever.
I'm not saying go quit your job. I'm not telling anyone to like just go quit your job.
It's just that something has to happen. There always has to be a catalyst for change that forces you to take action, because we're not creatures of habit, and if something's working, then we're going to keep doing it. I had to be forced. I had to be made uncomfortable.
Right. Well, I think I think everyone needs to go through that at some point, right? Like challenges, and that's what's going to sharpen you. Hitting the rock bottom, and being like, okay, this is where I'm at. What's the next move now? That's what really defines you. I think that's being able to make a decision when you're like, fuck, I have no idea what's going on right now.
Have you had a network that you've leaned on, or that have kind of helped you be open to those changes?
I mean, I would say I have a good support. Like, I'd be lying to say I don't have a good support system. It doesn't mean that like, my family and my best friends are fangirling over my music, but like they're never ones, if there's a show, they're there. Like I have my one buddy, his name's Lucas, right? And he's been like my guy, and every show he comes to, he's just like, he's got to be there. And like, that's a level of comfort, for me. That's what's cool. In terms of network, what I really do enjoy is when I started this, I came up with a group. You know, like you make your friends in the space, and that's you know a product of me reaching out and DMing like a madman. But now I have my group of guys, and it's like you know when one of them gets a win, I'm like fuck yeah, you know, like that's my, you know, we're gonna eat. If one of us eats, we're all eating. If one of us goes on tour, like who are you bringing? You're bringing your boys. Someone gets like, so it's cool in that regards. Like you have, it's not just me playing the game. Like I'm playing the game for, you know, my boys, and they're playing it for me, etc., etc. Because you guys climb the ladder together. It's like levels to this shit. No one said it because it sounds cool. There are levels to the game, and like you climb those together.
Just because you give someone the tools doesn't mean that they're going to be successful, because there's so many other aspects. And at the same time, there's room for everybody at the top. There really is. It's not like one person has to be successful and everybody else has to fail. So there's no reason to not share. So when you're writing, how many bars or how much do you write in one sitting? Do you have a structured pattern?
No. No. It's really like, it depends what the producer laid out for the record. Like I'll ask him sometimes like, hey, add a little bit because I didn't get my whole message out. You know, but typically I kind of write to what has been given to me in the canvas, if you will, within the beat. You know, like that's like, okay, this is what the producer gave me and this is what I'm going to play within. Once everything's in, you know, like we can go back and tweak some stuff, cut some parts of the beat out, but like I'm never sitting down and like, hey, I'm going to write, you know, 16 bars and then another 16 bars, and it's never like that. It's pretty like, you know, free flowy.
Do you have somewhat of a checklist that even if you're out of structure, you know, I need A through D?
I really like to just go in and say whatever's, you know, I'm going to put my headphones on, and whatever happens when I take them off is what just happened, you know. And I don't know, you know, I could go off the same way that we're talking right now, and I go off like left field into another conversation. I could go off into left field when I'm recording and just like start playing around with shit, you know. So I never really know.
So it's okay if somebody doesn't have a checklist.
Anybody who wants to rap or write music, because I don't consider myself a rapper, don't get it twisted. Like I got bars, I can spit, but like I'm not a rapper. I think anyone just needs to learn they need to buy a microphone and learn how to record their vocals over a beat. Like that is, once you have that down, that is like the base you need to just like go off in any direction you want. Once you know how to plug a mic in, and I mean like there's things that you need to understand about what you're recording in first. You know, it's not like you just plug your mic into your computer and like the system pops up and you know, you hit record. That's the biggest learning curve, is that initial jump. But like once you have that base, like no, my best advice is like fuck it, get in there and start screaming into the microphone, making weird noises, like, you know, and then you're gonna hear something that you kind of like.
How do you
Rapid fire. Next question. Just kidding.
How do you start incorporating rhyme or additional structure?
Yeah, good question. So like flow, right? Like people talk about switching up the flow is like a big talent when you're rapping, you know? So like as an example, if you're to rap and going da 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 da, it's the same thing over and over again. So, but like the ability to switch that multiple times throughout one verse, to me, is talented. Like Tory Lanez does it like the best, in my opinion. For me, like I want it to sound smooth. I want it to sound flowy, and like I want every word to fit perfectly and every syllable to match. And I'm not, by no means are they, but like that's what I'm shooting for first.
So backpacking on that, when it comes to repetition, you know how sometimes with songs, there's repeated lines.
Yeah.
When you're creating, are you saying, this is the line I want on repeat? Or does it just come out and you're like, this line will sound really good on repeat? How does that work when it comes to your repetition?
Something just tickles you. You're like sitting there and you say that one thing and you're like, fuck yeah, like that gave me my eargasm right there. And like, that's what I'm going to build off of. And then you like sing that line. Like when I'm in the car and I find, and in my head, I could think of like multiple songs where I found one line, just like one bar that I really, really loved. And then wrote the song just because I loved that bar and the way that one little piece sounded so much that I'm like, I need to write a full song.
Something that might have a little bit more structure. What equipment would be essential for someone who's just getting started? Is there a right or wrong here?
No, I mean, no. I think when you're getting started, like you can, some of my songs have been recorded on like $100 microphone. You know, I think a lot of it happens in post. You know, like it depends how good your engineer is. What room you're recording in, I think is important. But like, no, I think you get any like spend about $150 to $350 on your first mic, like depending what your budget is. You can get a low budget interface, like it's called the Scarlett Solo. That's like the pretty standard for anyone starting out. And then all you need is a laptop. You know, it's really not, it's not hard to get started. You know, it's not, and that's why I liked it so much. I was like, I went out and I didn't spend too much money to at least get started, and I was able to put music together. So I think anyone who's like thinking about doing it should really just do it. Not a big barrier to entry. There's a big barrier to success, but there's not a big barrier to entry.
When it comes to recording, do you record in a studio or do you have a makeshift studio at home?
Any makeshift things fire in my studio at home. Yeah, I mean, I've recorded in studio and I don't really like it. I like recording by myself. I like sitting in the pitch black in my room, like, or studio, if you will. It's in my apartment. It looks bomb. Like, it looks good. I could, depending on the angle that I take the photo, like, you'd be like, yo, are you in a studio? But,
well, with that said, when it comes to, because I guess you've done both, when it comes to actually renting studio space, is it hourly? Is it daily?
Yeah.
What's the gist with that? And is there a website you go on to find a studio to record in?
If I don't know, like, how many up and coming rappers are gonna listen to your podcast, but my biggest piece of advice is do not rent studio time unless you're like signed to a label and you got like free studio time. It's just not worth it. I remember before I knew how to do anything myself, I was doing that. I was like, I'm just gonna be the writer, the rapper, the songwriter. And I was paying this kid like $50 an hour to go record, but it is charged hourly. And it's typically it's just better to do it yourself. Record your audio yourself, period.
What do you find someone needs to make at home studio?
All right. In order, you need a laptop that like is decently strong. Like an i5 processor, I think is what you need, or higher. I'm not a big computer guy, but you need a computer. You need an audio interface, which is what you plug your mic into the audio interface, and then that plugs into your computer. You need a microphone, and you need headphones. You could literally use Apple headphones. It does not matter. That is all you need. Do you know Love, the artist Love?
I don't.
He sings, yes, you do. I like me better when I'm with you. Yeah.
I do. I do.
One of my favorite songs. And for that song specifically, he recorded the melody into his iPhone, you know? So, like, a lot of it happens in post. And that's an art. Like, mixing and mastering is, like, a whole nother art.
So then what does your post-production look like? And can you help me fix the echo in this room?
Yes. I can definitely make it better. And I've gotten so much better at mixing since I've started naturally, right? My post, so what I do is I record a reference track. I record the vocals and I get it to sound 99% perfect, like to where I want it to sound. I then send it to my engineer who listens to the reference track, and then he goes in and makes it, like, actually does everything, right? Mixes, masters it with better quality. That's why I'm sending it to him, and gets it to sound, you know, the way that as close to the way that I want it to sound as possible. And I go to 2 different guys for that for different reasons.
How did you find them, and what reasons are those?
Yeah, well, one of them is Dylan. And just because he worked on my vocals since I started. So, like, he just knows, you know, after working with someone, he just knows what sounds good. He knows, like, what my style is. And then recently, this kid, Rob, who I met years ago, he just graduated college. He went to school for production and whatnot. And he's a super talented kid. I've been releasing a ton of music with him. But I go to him for more, like, micro stuff. Like he's able to like go into my vocals and fix little notes and like little inconsistencies, whereas Dylan's like big picture, like I'm gonna make this word repeat here, and I'm gonna cut the beat so it's silent here before it drops.
Do they have handles that they don't mind us sharing with everybody, or?
Everybody peep Dylan Reese, at Dylan Reese for Instagram, and then Rob is at Rob Kowalski with 2 I's. I don't know. I could send those to you guys. They're fire. Rob, I've been dropping a ton of music with, and Dylan Reese is like the next big thing. Timeless music. Like your parents could listen to him, your grandparents could listen to him, you could listen to him, and like your younger siblings could listen to him. You guys should definitely check him out.
Do you think there comes a point in someone's artistic career that they say, hey, I need more hands on deck? And when is that point?
Yo, you guys ask straight up the best questions. You guys ask the best questions. These are all things that like I have thought about. Yes, you need a team. You for sure need a team, and a team is not something that just you go and get, because I tried doing that. I was like, that, like when I told that kid, yo, I'm gonna be famous, you're gonna be my guy, we're gonna do this together, we're a team now. Like
nah.
It was, what was that, Alex?
I said, and he was like, nah, pay me.
Nah, pay me. Like I remember watching kids who were popping off when I just started, and I was like, what are they doing? And they had a team. They had like a team of people committed to them, and I was like, I need to find that. And what I've learned is that you don't. It finds you naturally, just like as you continue to work and continue to collab with people, like it's just gonna happen. So I've been like praying for patience over the last year. It's one of the things I've really been working on. It's like understanding to appreciate the process. It's all happening naturally, and your team is just, they're gonna find you.
Would you recommend any sort of master class, composition class, or college course for someone who's looking to get started and build their knowledge?
Right. Yeah. So again, I've never taken one. I've never purchased a class or even watched one from like start to finish of the same guy. It was more like little things, like how do I do this within this? No, I really do believe, and I say this with anything, any skill that I've ever learned, it's like, just go in there and explore. Like you put the hours in exploring. And I have a buddy who day trades like professionally, and the thing that he uses on his monitors, right, like his workstation or trading station, is all these numbers and all these things going on and lines shooting across the screen, and like you look at it and you're like, how would you learn that? And he just like spends a lot of time in it. So anyone, video editing software, music production, what you use for your mixing and DJing, like it's just time in there. The more buttons you press, you just learn what they do. So go in there, mess up, scream into the mic, make a ton of different noises. Like it's just like, that's the fun part of it. There's no structure. That's what's so cool.
You're saying somebody doesn't necessarily need a higher education, but
not even a little.
But if they chose to take some college classes, what classes would you suggest?
Okay. That's a different question for sure. Like I would have really appreciated music production class, in college. I think like a general music production class is your best bet. That's it. Like that's just learn how to get around in the system. But outside of that, explore, just go with what you feel. I think that's the best part.
Are there any kind of common misconceptions that you found that people have of the music industry, and can you share any stories?
Yeah, for sure. Yes. Yeah. What you learn behind the scenes is that like a lot of it is smoke and mirrors. I got ripped off for a song. This was an artist that I listened to since I was like, since I had an iPod. Since the first album that this person came out with, I was listening to them religiously, and I started making music. And they responded to me, and I thought that was huge. I was like, this is awesome. This person is agreeing to make a song with me, charges me money for it. I didn't know how that worked. Didn't get the record back to me for like 8 months, so like I paid him to do this. It took him like 8 months to get it back to me. And it was like half-assed, it was just like half-assed. And he just did it for the quick $500. And that was a huge lesson for me. Like, and I'm glad I learned it early on. People are out here just like trying to scum you over. There are people who will hop on a song, like do a feature, get paid, and hate the song that they recorded, but just do it for the money. And like that stinks. it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors. And that's why I think right now what you're seeing is a lot of the most transparent and genuine artists are the ones who are being successful. Like those are I think it's like kind of in a switch right now, in a shift, and full transparency and honesty. Like you can be a popping artist. This is what's cool, right? I have friends who make a living off music, and they're not Drake, they're not Drake, they're not The Weeknd, but they're making, 150 grand, 200 grand just making music out of their home, like, and that is making it, you're comfortable and you're doing it from something that you love. So I think the biggest misconception is that if you're not a name like Drake, like, then you're never going to make it in music. I know a ton of people who make their living off of music, and that's what's cool.
So this has been absolutely incredible.
You guys are great. This was a great conversation. I appreciate your outlook. You guys are very bright and awesome.
So in closing, can you share with us like your 5 steps? So 5 key takeaways that we want our listeners to get if they want to follow in your footsteps.
Trust yourself, right? Like if your gut is telling you that you want to go pursue music, go do it. What's the worst that can happen? And ask yourself that question and answer that question for yourself. Know that you have to put hours in, but those hours are going to be fun, right? Like if you're truly in love with it, then like it's not going to be, you're not going to look at it as a chore. So enjoy the process. Keep your eyes open, right? Like just be aware. I think, not everything is butterflies and flowers, and anyone who tells you that it is like, pumping candy up your ass. It's just not true. So like be aware. I think it's very easy to get fooled in this space. 4, shoot your shot and take your chances, right? So like on the flip side of that, there are a ton of great people in this industry, and there are a lot of people who are willing to help you. Like I would be a prime example. If someone were to reach out to me with these questions, I would answer it for them because people answered them for me. So for the 9 people that tell you to go fuck off, like there's one person who's going to answer you, and that's the small win that you need to keep going. And then 5, like no limitation mindset. No limitation mindset. It's definitely something that's possible with time and consistency, and it's like the same with anything else.
Francc, thank you so much for taking the time to answer these questions, giving us insight when it comes to lyrical storytelling and how one takes those steps in making it successful. We really enjoyed having you and learned so much.
Guys, thank you so much. I am looking forward to watching this podcast and what you guys do moving forward. I think you guys have like the best structure and know exactly what you need to do in order for this to be successful. So sky's the limit.
Thank you.
Yo, stay in touch, for real. Stay in touch. I'm part of your network now, vice versa. If there's anything I can do to help you guys, you let me know.
You're amazing.
All love. Speak soon, guys.
Thank you.